So thank you very much for the survey today. The proof of the pudding is in the eating. If you follow my recommendations and test with a damp meter, you'll see that the dampness is starting to come out of the walls. But you're going to have to do three things. You're going to have to run dehumidifiers, use fans, and measure the internal dew point. Dew point is a measure of the amount of vapor in air. I'm going to show you the data loggers now, but please use the loggers going forward. You can use a simple dew point meter and just look up the external temperature and see what the outside temperature is at any point in time, and obviously work out what it's going to be in the evening by having a look at the BBC weather forecast or Met Office. But thank you very much, and follow my recommendations. So here's the data logger system. It's at damp.ai/detect. I've uploaded your files already, but you can email them to yourself and extract the data and put it into a file and then upload it, or you can just save it to file. So you choose, you compare one to the other. So front door compared to the kitchen. You could put it in the outside room office and compare it to the outside data. So what I'm seeing is here, this green line is the surface relative humidity, and it's at more or less normal levels, 60%. You've got the blue line here, the dew point line. You need to keep that below the outside temperature, which you pretty much are. This is the external dew point, and you can see that you're marginally greater than the external dew point, which is not surprising because you've got vapor that's coming in. And this is a dew point differential, and it shows me that when it's below zero, it's because vapor is coming from the other data logger. So in this case, the kitchen, but there aren't too many spikes here. So generally it looks like you're not getting condensation, but it is the summertime, and in winter you've got to see what's happening in winter time. Zoom in and see what's happening at a particularly humid time of the day. Important to choose the temperature of the cold room, and you can use a thermal imaging camera as I have done, or a laser thermometer, anything to get the actual temperature of the wall, because you want to know what the surface relative humidity is rather than at the data logger. So just to say, you have these bullet holes at the front at the base of the wall, and that's a sign of past damp proofing treatment against rising damp, which you don't have. Appear to be hygroscopic salts, which you get primarily from the historic burning of coal, but you will also get it from animal, or specifically equine urine from horse pee. And they're about a metre off the ground, and what they do is they cause deliquescence, which is a type of condensation, and you get it much more when there's humid, warm humid air, when the it's really nice and warm outside, but there's a lot of moisture in the air because obviously the sea and rivers and so on are evaporating out, and it will probably look a lot worse when there's a lot of vapor in the air. And they're very easy to deal with. You just need to cover them with an oil-based primer. It's very simple.
So it's not that's reassuring, because what the leak guy was saying is this is rising damp.
It historically people used to think it was rising damp, but that's because it was hard to explain it. But it's isolated. I'll show you with the damp meter. It'll be isolated. So it'll be just this spot here. It's not coming from underneath. It's not coming from down. It's not even a source of water. It's like, just normal salt, table salt, will draw in moisture from the air. When it's humid, and in Italy, where they have lots of humidity and it's warm, it clumps up, and they put rice into the salt cellars to stop it. In this country, we add other chemicals to stop it, but it's the same.
Running through.
So pressure on the mains water, and he didn't detect a...
He did not detect a leak, but that's not to say there may be another pipe that's upstairs. causing a leak that pulls through. But then it's hard to test that, isn't it?
I'm going to guess already what I think the problem is.
You're going to say
but
yeah, you're going to say there's bits missing in the grout.
there is a bit missing in the grout, but I think you'll have it higher up the wall though. The thing about grout is, so there's a quick. I mean, I think you need to fill all of that anyway.
Yeah, agree. But I think the other thing is we've been actively avoiding using the shower just to test what could be another source. And there have been instances where we haven't used the shower, but there's still water pooling out.
So where's it pooling? Do you want to show me? Or is it pooling in here? Or?
No, on the other side, where I was saying on that corner with the crack.
Let's have a look. I think you're probably doing the right thing, but this is meant for electricians as an emergency thing for when they're dealing with the shower. It's not really supposed to be used to turn it on and off.
Right.
You're really supposed to have an overrun on the extractor fan that lasts for half an hour.
Yeah.
And use that. And then, I mean, obviously, if it's annoying you in the middle of the night, you turn it off, but what you really should do is just turn it back on again, so it's primed and ready.
Sure.
It does, as owners, it doesn't matter so much, but if you were tenants, that would be important, because otherwise you won't be getting sufficient ventilation. But we'll look at that with the data loggers.
Okay.
Yeah, if you can pass me so there's a pool of water that comes out here, and you've been here, did you say 4 months?
6 months.
6 months. So any particular time of year, or is it when it's raining, or
that's what we were guessing at. It was either shower through the grout, or rainfall, or there's a leak behind this wall in someone else's pipes. It could be one of the three or all three.
So I'm going to test out a few theories.
Okay.
But you have liquid water that forms around here.
Yeah.
And are you going to send me a footage as well? There you go.
We can send pictures to you.
You can send it to me.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So this colour, this brown colour, is caused by water passing through building material and including timber, and it creates a brown stain, and it's not rising damp because it's been drawn up, but it's been drawn up through building material. Every form of water, any source of water, will rise if material or paper or anything that's absorbent is put into it. And that's what's causing that. But we need to get to the bottom of the source of water. Now, if you like, I can open this up. It will be, I won't be able to get it back perfectly, but what I would expect to see is some pipes in here.
It's the only way.
Yeah.
It's the only way. Invasive is the only way.
Okay, good. I might have to go to the car to get stuff. I've got stuff in the car, but I'll see what I... So you can normally tell if it's drain because of A, the smell, and B, the look. You'll normally expect to see soapiness in it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I didn't see the images clearly, but you'll show them to me. But I'm guessing it's completely transparent.
So it's been transparent water. One time though, when the water did start draining, it almost smelled like washing.
Someone's washing machine water. Like we normally don't, but we put our noses to it. It was warm to the touch.
Oh yeah, like this whole area and down here it was warm.
Yeah. Which is why we're now thinking it could be.
I think it could be drain.
Leak from the pipe.
Can it be those pipes that previously would have been?
Can I get onto the? Can I get onto this area and have a look from above?
If you have a ladder, yeah.
I've got one in the car.
Okay.
Oh, so you got the pipe work going in there. Yeah. Is the source of your hygroscopic salts that chimney? And that's pretty much lines up with where the damp is. It will be somewhere in from there. Yeah. I think you have here is what's called interstitial condensation, which is where you get condensation within the building material. And it's because it's an outbuilding and you know, although you've got a bathroom here that you don't use. So it probably doesn't have a lot of vapor, but I think probably more importantly, it doesn't get a lot of heat. And a very simple solution is to run a dehumidifier here.
Okay, so you're thinking it's not actually like a leak in the roof? Or...
No, because you would expect to see a darker brown stain, but it's. I'm going to have a look at the roof as well when I bring my ladder. Yeah. But looking at the roof, it looks like the roof is really solid and unlikely to be leaking.
Okay.
Historically, you had what's called subfloor ventilation, so the vent comes through from here.
Sure.
And that you're getting pretty much zero ventilation with that. But it's a solid floor, and it may be that you've got pipe work running underneath, but even so, it wouldn't provide much in the way of ventilation. Have you got a solid floor to the front as well? Imagine it's all solid floor. Certainly to the back. So, in my opinion, it's almost certainly redundant, but obviously I don't know the way it's been built. I wouldn't worry about it. It doesn't seem to be the cause of any problems.
Okay.
So this is a thermal imaging camera where blue is cold and orange, red is a warmer. And you're getting quite a lot of heat loss down in the base. So you're showing at 12.9 degrees centigrade. And that may be because it's got a cold subfloor void. And here, the interesting thing here is that you don't have any heat loss signature there, because that's not a source of water. It's in dynamic equilibrium, so it's evaporating and condensing at the same rate. So you don't get a heat signature on those. You're getting a small heat signature down there, because a bit of evaporation is taking place, and then you'll probably get a bit of a heat signature over there. This time of year, it's much harder to use thermal imaging to understand dampness, but sometimes it helps. So,
renewables.
Oh,
construction, ironically.
It's good area. So some of this is. That's where your dot and dabs are. So, I mean, I would use the same solution, but
is it almost those are against something solid?
So you noticed me tapping the wall, and that was because I noticed it was hollow. And it appears to be dry here, damp there. I'm not. Yeah, it is pretty damp actually, and dry there. That's because it's plasterboard, dry lined, and holding up the plasterboard, you've got adhesive. It's called dot and dab in this country, but you've got two sections of adhesive there and a third one there as well. And if you use a thermal imaging camera in winter, you'll see this heat loss. So although I think it probably is still hygroscopic salts, it's possible that it's just standard condensation. It's the same deliquescence as condensation by another fancy name at lower levels of relative humidity.
Okay.
Hygroscopic salts, you can only cover them, or you can remove them, but it's a lot of brickwork to remove. You can only cover them really, and a primer is the easiest way of doing it. With condensation, you need to deal with the excess vapor, and the best way of dealing with that is using data loggers to assess if you've got excess vapor. And excess vapor is defined as where the internal dew point, which is a measure of the amount of vapor in air, exceeds the outside temperature. This is going to be an external wall. It's going to get quite cold at night in winter, and you will get heat loss because of the dots. But the dots are also often they use an aqueous base glue that can allow the water to be absorbed through, and so you can be one or the other.
Right. So I guess the only bad thing is heat loss, is what you're saying. Otherwise, we can just paint it with primer and it'll just go away. But will there be a point where the condensation then comes back over the primer, in which case you have to paint it again?
Potentially. So if you've got a primer, if you've got an oil-based primer, and the vapor gets in behind, you can get blistering in behind it. But you should be keeping the vapor levels down anyway, so I don't think it's going to be a problem, but I'll give you more instruction on that later. Right. So I'm looking on the other side, and there's a staircase, so I can't actually see much. So I'm just going to look in underneath the staircase. So this is all boarded up. The chimney breast was there, but they had to discontinue using it because it's in a smokeless area. There's metal work there, but that's not causing the dampness. This is opening the skirting board up, and there's dampness there, there's mould as well. And I'm just going to open this up so we can see if there's pipe work or what's happening here. Can it be difficult to differentiate between the smell of mould and of a soil pipe? But I can't help thinking that it smells like a soil pipe. Are you sharing freehold here?
Yes.
Okay, so obviously it's a mutual joint cost.
Yeah.
So what I think it is the foul water pipe, primarily from your neighbour, but I mean it's possible that you're also connected to it. Sort of doesn't really matter. You can smell it quite distinctly now. That is that's plastic pipe there. So it's a large 6-inch plastic pipe so this would have been external, and it's not great to have foul water coming back up when it's external, but it sort of doesn't matter so much. When you internalise it, then it starts to become a problem. And I think essentially that's what it is. I'm going to have a look above, but I think the solution is going to have to come from a CCTV inside the pipe, and to see whether there's a blockage within the pipe that's causing. So essentially, you've got two elements. One is the smell, and the smell, as horrible as it is, doesn't normally cause internal dampness, and it doesn't cause the water to come through, as you saw. But what's more likely is you've got a temporary or a blockage that appears and disappears. And if you've got a lot of baths and showers happening all at the same time, I mean, it could be, if you look at when you purchase the property, you normally get what's called searches, and it will show the drainage system typically, and you can see whether you've got your neighbours running through here.
Okay.
And actually, if it does run, if you have more than one property running through, so not talking about flats, but more than one building running through, which quite often the last one in a row will have pipework, and the garage next door, it looks like an old building, but it may be slightly younger than this property, or anyway, you could have had a row of properties running with their sewage down here, and then it would be the responsibility of Thames Water to check and unblock it.
Okay.
Because if it's more than one building, it's different if it's different flats in the same building, but if it's more than one building, then it's their responsibility by law.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to have a look from above, but there's only so much I can tell from this point.
Okay.
This is, you got your dampness on the other side of here, and it also smells not great on that side, is it? I know, but that's further forward that way, isn't it? But it doesn't smell great on that side. So it could be related. So if you're getting dampness into the subfloor void, so almost certainly you've got a subfloor void, so it's a zone below the floorboards that is supposed to be there for vapour to then blow away through subfloor ventilation. I should explain that on the back. I'm going to have a look at that as well. Looking for a gap to put a hygrometer probe into the subfloor void. So this is space underneath the floor. When you can hear a slight hollow sound as opposed to a solid sound, it's normally because there's a gap. So there would be what's called a joist supporting either the original timber floorboard and yours is on top, or maybe yours is straight onto the joist. Either way, there's a gap that may be 1 foot, it could be 3 foot, probably not much more than that, because otherwise they'd make it into a cellar. And it's like a cellar, it's like a crawl space, they call it in the US, probably in New Zealand as well. I'm going to put this in, and if you're getting water into that zone, it's not great, especially if you have restricted airflow, which you appear to have. We saw that before. So I'll see if I can get this in. Well, I haven't got a gap to put it in, but it seems to have dropped a little bit, and there's signs of slight, what's called blue stain in service, a type of rot. I mean, it's not going to be... Okay, I don't think I'm going to be able to get it in there. It's too small a gap. And there's nothing there. Maybe in the front room. So I've been able to get it into a small gap, but this is to the front, and you've probably got some ventilation there. But we'll have a look and see what happens with the subfloor humidity. Subfloor ventilation is normally a good thing to have in most properties, but it is essentially a belt and braces in case you get moisture in the subfloor, such as a leak, but also natural water coming through soil that's percolating into the subfloor. It needs to have some degree of ventilation, and because you've got the extension at the back, and even though there's some sort of vents there, they're not going to provide the sufficient ventilation, really. I'm going to measure that. If it's normal levels of relative humidity, don't worry, but the problem is that that's to the front, and you may have some vents, and it may be measuring essentially outside vapour rather than internal vapour, but we'll have a look. Here's your old chimney breast. You can see hygroscopic salts down there. It's been weatherproofed. So, what have we got here? I'm finally getting past. All the rainwater from the roof and there and round here is going into a form of hopper to be included in the sewage water. So you shouldn't have that. You're supposed to separate it, and that looks a bit perished. I don't suppose it makes much difference. So you obviously got the wastewater there, but that's the rainwater in that corner and not the wastewater. Interesting. So I think you just have to have the majority of the rainwater coming out the back, and let's have a look there now. So that's the upstairs flats wastewater from presumably their kitchen. So the rainwater from there is going, from that section of roof is going down there, so that's fine. I would reroute your other rainwater. So the roof looks fine up here. I don't see any. I mean, that's a small thing there. I wouldn't worry about that. Check that the water flows away during a rainstorm, but I doubt it's going in there. There's a slight rise, but even so, I doubt it's the root cause. I think it's interesting. To the right hand side is rainwater. So the pipe that's running down there is rainwater, and the foul water is going down there. Unless it goes across in the roof, which I doubt it, then it's actually going into this side. Yeah, so that's boxed as well. So that's foul water, that's rainwater. but I think what it's doing is it's joining the foul water, and it shouldn't do. And I think that's why it's coming back up and why you're smelling it. So I've got a very simple solution that will probably solve the problem. And I suspect, as much as it'd be great if you could persuade Thames Water to come over and do it, but they wouldn't be happy about the rainwater going into the foul water, and if that was the cause, then so a very simple thing to do is to reroute the rainwater to the back of the building, and you can just pipe it, and that would be relatively inexpensive. It takes somebody a couple of hours to do it, and I imagine you've got rainwater pipe work at the back, so you can just join that, and that would be a simple solution. Because I wonder whether it's backing up during periods of rain, but it'd be good to see when it's dated.
I mean, the last time there was a big pool was last Wednesday.
Last Wednesday.
14th of May.
Oh, so that doesn't coincide with
No,
Yeah.
it's been
at all.
a period of
Dry
weather,
dry
yeah.
weather.
And that pool was when it was warm and it smelled like washing,
Like fresh
Yeah.
washing. Yeah.
fresh washing.
But it's still okay. But either way, it's still coming up the rainwater pipe, as opposed to up the foul water pipe. 'Cause that's definitely rainwater there. You can see it on the outside. What you normally have is a trap with water trapping the smells, so it can't back up. And I think either that trap has been removed and or it's broken in underground. But either way, it still wouldn't back up unless there was a problem with the drainage system. And it can be anything from somebody flushing down a beggar's nappy to a lot of use of, I don't know, barbecue fats or something that can be completely unrelated to weather conditions. So the simple solution is to pipe. But that's not gonna. That wouldn't be the cause, though, would it? I mean, I think you probably ought to anyway. But what you can do. The annoying thing is that you can. Ultimately, I think any solution. So you can get Thames Water to come and have a look, and they may or may not. You want to have somebody that can look in around there.
Yeah.
I'm slightly thinking on my feet. It's not a common cause of dampness.
Sure.
You'd be pleased to know. It's good to be different.
Yeah.
And I can't help thinking it's because of the way it's been built.
Okay.
Put to film what I think needs to be done, but I may change my mind. I think the issue is underground. Do you want me to take a bit more off here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If that gives you a clearer picture
Yeah.
of what's going on.
Okay. So we're now looking at inside. It's wet, and I can see it. You got those flies that you get with foul. I mean, ultimately, I think, sadly, I think you're going to have to open this tile up. You can get somebody to cut it. They're probably, well, I suspect this tile will have to be damaged, and you need to find out what the tile is in order to solve it, to replace it, because I think you need to damage this tile. It's gone up, but it's not off the scale. But then we're a long way from the source of the water. There's water in there, which is, you know, as it should be, because to stop the smells coming up. I can't help thinking it's cracked, but I don't think I'm going to be able to find out by putting a camera down. I think you'll need to open it up.
Mm-hmm.
I'll do a little bit more investigating, but I don't think we'll be able to see much. I mean, so it's good that it's full of water, because that tells me that it's acting as a trap. I mean, you could pour water down the sink and just see what happens. I mean, it's worth a try if you want.
Acid?
Yeah. So you've got a lot of different issues, but the primary issue is the drain that's linked to the rainwater, but it's not. The water is coming through as in liquid form in summertime, and it smells, and it's connecting. The rainwater drain is connected through to the foul water, but it's not occurring when it's raining. It's occurring presumably when the foul water is blocked up. And if you can find your searches, you'll be able to see whether it's your responsibility or Thames Water's responsibility. When I say your responsibility, it'd be as a house, so it'd be a freehold thing. But I mean, so you want to find out that there must be some sort of blockage, because what happens is if there's a blockage, it can be forced back through the trap and up. But in normal circumstances, so your hygrometer is showing 87% on there. I'm going to leave that with you, and you've got the interstitial condensation. So you've got dampness in the subfloor void, and it's poorly ventilated, and that damp's going to come from the drain there, and you've got a risk of condensation forming above the damp-proof course, and it will cause rising damp-like symptoms. So this is the original wall, and it's showing through here. I would say everything else has been damp-proof. You can see that slight ridge there. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. That will come from underneath. Get yourself a damp meter reading that. That's showing normal levels of dampness around there. But you've got a risk of dampness in that area there. We're just talking about the issue of high subfloor humidity, and yes, ideally you should improve the subfloor ventilation, and if you can't go out the back, you can go out the front and underneath and put in a mechanical vent that's blowing air out with a fan. Problem is that you've got very good quality flooring that is going to cost money, and you know, it's going to be expensive to deal with it. There is a risk of rot, and rot, specifically dry rot, and if you get dry rot into the subfloor void, your timber can decay rapidly. So it's a risk. I can't deny that, but there's also going to be quite a cost to opening up the floor. I mean, I suppose what you can do is you can just take as an area, and the thing is that your floor is going to go, your joist will almost certainly go in the same direction as this flooring with another floor underneath, but I don't know that for sure. But you'd have to cut open quite a decent size to get somebody in. I mean, it's probably a few £1,000s to do that, but dealing with the dry rot could be 20,000-30,000, and your risk is probably your own insurance. Suggest is measuring the subfloor relative humidity, dealing with that and seeing whether it comes down. This time of year, I say that, but you can get rot in the subfloor void if there's continuous high humidity. So you definitely have a risk. I think I would, if it were me, I would monitor it and deal with that first, and then maybe look in a few months' time, see whether it's coming down. What you could actually do is you could take those and just, I mean, if you have the details of how it was built and whether there is underfloor ventilation through here, that will help. You could put a mechanical vent on the outside and just blow it through and just reduce the vapor that way.